Boys and girls. Live from the Ministry League studios in North Georgia. Each week with John the Professor Podein and Paul Superman Spurlin. And with producer Caleb Sampson behind the glass. On the Ministry League Network. And on all your other favorite platforms. Here with all your ministry talk. And the latest in news and sports. It's the John and Paul Show live.
Welcome to the John and Paul Show, brought to you by Ministry League at ministryleague.com, ministryleague.com, and everything you can find on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are looking forward to that. My name is Paul Spurlin. With me, as always, is John Podein. Behind the glass, across the state, across that line, across the state, is Caleb in the great state of Alabama. Roll Tide. And this is the show. This is the Exposure Youth Camp show, where we give you all the information about registration and who's coming and who's not. What's up, John?
Oh, Paul, it is a good morning. When you were talking about across the state for Caleb, I was sitting there thinking across the Tennessee River and thinking, oh, Tennessee River and a mountain man.
Shut up.
I needed to let everybody know.
No, you don't.
This is.
Oh, that. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. We're wired this morning, so we're excited to see all of you here this morning.
He's wired this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just holding on here today.
Paul is doing daddy duty today, but we're glad that he's here. And this is our exposure show, Paul. This is our we get to do this kind of once a year, going in and getting everybody ready for registration.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a little more information, be better prepared for everything for next week's show. But I say that. And this time next week, we'll all be in transition heading to Huntsville for a board meeting, so there probably won't be a show next week. But we are ready for Exposure Youth Camp registration, everything opening tomorrow, actually tonight at midnight. There will be a lot of groups that are staying up to hit that link to register to get started.
Good to see you, Brandon. I saw him last weekend. Yeah, Paul, it is. Tonight at midnight. Woohoo! We've been waiting for this moment that it opens up at midnight, and we are ready to go with the registration opening up. And Paul, we are expecting this to be a record year for Exposure on the 25th anniversary.
We are expecting it. Our numbers were really good last year following COVID, and so we are looking forward to them going upwards near the 3,000 number mark. We have folks all over the United States coming. We have possibly 2 groups internationally that will check in with us during our event, so we're excited about that. But, John, let's go ahead and jump right in and talk about the registration part of it, because I know a lot of folks are tuning in for that purpose. And there have been a few discrepancies on the registration page on the website. I want to make sure and clear up for folks today.
Yeah, in fact, we already got a question that has popped in here already. Caleb can throw that up there. Landon's asking, is this midnight Central or Eastern time?
No, that's a good question.
Since we now live on the Eastern time zone.
That's a good question. I would say Central.
Yeah.
The event does happen in Central Standard Time, so most of our folks are in Central.
Yeah.
So we will go with that. And to be honest with you, I'll probably tell them to throw it up there before even midnight hits. So I'll be looking for it sometime late this evening.
Yeah. And Paul, I guess that's probably one of the biggest changes with registration this year that I think we want to go ahead and just throw this out. How do people even get to register? Because, in the past we've had send a link and things like this. How is that being done this year for people to get started?
Well, first of all, the newsletter that we have people on is our way of sending quick messages, notifications to people. If they do not have the Ministry League app, first of all, I don't understand why you wouldn't. But if you push no notifications, you don't get the information that's sent to you. So we do have the newsletter that is for Exposure Youth Camp, but also Ministry League purposes, and it's for good information. But this year, the first year I think ever, we're going to have the link right there on the registration page, right there on our website at eyc.camp. It's not .com. It's EYC, Exposure Youth Camp. The letters EYC.CAMP, and then hit registration page right at the top. Click it and start registering. And the way you do that basically is you'll say how many you need to know how many people are coming, registrants for that. There's going to be two options. You can pay online or send in a check. It's up to you. You're going to end up paying about an extra $5.85 per person.
Yeah.
If you go online, it's convenient for you, but you are going to pay for that. And then we get into the whole draft thing, which I know we need to talk about that as well.
Yeah, and one thing we did with our website address was trying to make it easier instead of, we had the www.exposureyouthcamp.com, just trying to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, what you said there, Paul, is something that I think people do need to understand, that especially with early registration being $175, that anything that if you pay right then and there, it is not us that charges this. This is the company with PayPal and EventSmart or Eventbrite, whichever one we're using. I don't even know which one we're using. They charge a processing fee per person now whenever that's done. And that is the extra fee that Paul is talking about there.
Yeah. So please keep that in mind. The draft is something to discuss. We didn't talk about. And so basically we're going to be using this year a record 9 hotels all across Huntsville. They're not all close. I mean, Huntsville's not a big town. Okay. Those who would live in Huntsville probably would say it probably is, but trust me, I live in Atlanta. It's not a big town.
But it is now the biggest town, I think. Isn't it the biggest city in Alabama now? Did it overtake Birmingham?
It's close for sure. Yeah, when you look at the metropolitan areas around it, or the
Madison County, I guess.
Towns. Yeah, Madison County, and all that stuff. So it's close. But the hotels are fairly near. The furthest away, I think, is probably going to be at Bridge Street. If you're familiar with Huntsville, we're using the Hyatt Place there at Bridge Street. We used them last year. Really good hotel. And so we just had to spread out and try to find the best rates possible, which is another part of the whole discussion that John and I have been dealing with over the past few weeks and months, and we will continue to. But hotels are trying to recover from COVID, and so prices are going up. And,
it is.
It's not for our attendees yet, but this year we're sticking to what it is. And you did say something earlier. I'll make sure and mention and talk about real quick. This is early registration. The first 2 weeks or the last 2 weeks, I should say, of October is early registration. You get a $25 discount when you register the last 2 weeks of October, first 2 weeks of registration. The last 2 weeks, which goes November 1 through the 15th, will go up to $200, and then we close after the 15th of November. There is no registering. Is that a word? Did I do that?
Registrating.
No registrating after the 15th of November. So please keep that in mind, and know that those checks do go to that 1630 Piedmont Road address. People are asking, where is it at? The checks go here. This is not. The event is in Huntsville, Alabama. The checks go to us at Piedmont Road in Georgia.
Yes. And Paul, I do want to make sure, because we got a lot of people who are watching this. I see people who are watching this who have come to Exposure for years and everything like this. We are trying our best to keep the price as low as possible. Literally, if it were not helping from certain donation, probably from people, it would be rough this year not to raise the price, just because what you said, Paul, we're using 9 hotels and people are trying to recover from COVID as part of it. And with inflation's another part of it, that it has, you've been on the phone many hours already and trying to get all the help we can to keep it as low as possible.
Yeah, we've contacted the CVB there in town in Huntsville to help out with us a little bit. Other hotels that are helping us, the Von Braun Center who's helping us, and so there was a time we hit a wall kind of like this once before when we moved. That's not what we want to do. We want to make sure and commit to everyone that we like Huntsville. We want to stay in Huntsville, and so we're doing all we can do to make sure it happens and that it is as affordable as possible for folks. And so that's kind of the deal. Go to EYC.com and hit the registration page. It'll give you all the information you need. We were getting two separate sets of information that was on that page. I read through it. I didn't see it. But I will say this. The draft works this way. If you want to get in the Embassy Suites, which is the only hotel that is connected to the BBC, which I think is the draw there, the draft basically means we have received your payment, not that it's post-dated or postmarked. We have received your payment, and you have done your registration properly online in the month of October. So once Halloween hits, after that, you no longer qualify. You will not get in the Embassy Suites. But before that, we have a spreadsheet, and we do let the computer do a random draw, and that's who gets into the Embassy Suites if you have we have received your payment and you have registered properly. Now, we had about 5 groups, sorry, I'm just going to say it, that completed your registration for let's just say 10 people, and all 10 people have the same name as the youth leader. If you do that, we're going to dump you out out of the draft. You won't make it. So you can't just reserve spots. We need to know who's going to be in those spots. And if there are 10 different presidents of the United States, we're going to assume those folks aren't coming with you to the event.
Yeah, I think to help people understand of what Paul is trying to explain with this is we are expecting 3,000 people. We can put a third of them in the Embassy Suites. So that is why we are having to do this. Yes, people have put in here, I need to reserve my space. I'm going to put in the same name over and over and over. What that ends up doing is that makes us, when we are trying to get everything together and getting name tags done and shirt sizes and everything else, we're having to chase you down. We're having to figure things out. And then it also changes because it may throw off who's in your room and in what room. And it also throws off because let's say you have 7 girls and 3 guys and out of those 10, and yet we put them in 2 rooms. Well, guess what? That's not going to work. Yes, Brandon, that means youth ministers have to be organized. Yes, we do. And so that's why we do the draft. And we'll go ahead and tell you right now, everybody who registers between now and the end of October and gets everything taken care of, we're going to go ahead and apologize right now. We cannot guarantee you're going to be in the embassy because there are going to be some people going to be left out. If we do what happened last year, we had roughly 2,000-ish more registered within the first 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Well, the hotel only holds anywhere between 1,000 and 1,200, depending on how the rooms are people have in room.
We're lucky.
So if we're lucky. So generally it's right around about 1,000 people. So guess what? That's 1,000 people that didn't get in. But we got the other hotels that are close, and so we'll have you in or place. So we definitely want you to know that. I don't know where Paul went. All right, then.
I'm here.
Okay, you're still here.
I got to deal with something.
Oh, okay. Paul's on daddy's duty, so we're excited for him being able to do that. So that's why Paul is saying that we need to have your registration in and have the check-in. That's also something that was very important that Paul just mentioned. The address is to Piedmont Road Church of Christ in Marietta, Georgia. If you send it to another address, we may not get it. And once again, then we're trying to chase everything down, and everything at November 15th turns absolutely crazy. So please go online. It will be there in the registration of where to send your check. Please pay attention to that and send it to the Piedmont Road Church of Christ.
And for since we're talking about registration for vendors, I'm gonna let Caleb give you the address for that. I believe it's vendors at. No, Caleb, what's the address for that?
Yeah, it's vendors at EYC.camp.
Okay. EYC.camp. Okay, good. That is the address, vendors at EYC.camp. There is a page on the website that you can click and start filling out your information. Go now. This registration deadlines also affect you. If you do not register by the 15th of November, we hold no responsibility for things you might receive. So you must get that in by then. We just can't be waiting to the last minute. This has happened almost every year we've been in existence. We have to get stuff done. We're drop shipping things much earlier. We are doing things much different this year. We have a couple of speakers who've never been before, and we're bringing back some folks and doing some things we've done from the very beginning. So this is a special year for us. It is our 25th year anniversary. We're excited about it. We will not be on stage giving you the history of the event. We want you to enjoy this year, but it is 25 years. And we are doing things a little bit different. John, I'll let you sort of tell folks kind of how that's going to look.
Yeah, we're actually kind of going back to old school ways a little bit. We're going to kind of bring some things back that we had for the day. One of the things that we have had with Exposure is team time. We are keeping team time. We'll explain that here in a second of how this is going to look, because it is going to be a little different just because, Paul, we hard to believe we are outgrowing space at the Von Braun Center. So we've had to get a little
creative.
That's the good word to use to be able to do this. But we are bringing back with some of the spiritual challenge classes, and we'll go more into this. Before, one of the mainstays that we always had, Paul, was an apologetics class and a men's leadership class and the women's leadership class and the singing class. And guess what? All of those are coming back in spiritual challenge classes this year, along with other great ones too. And so we're excited about that, and just it's going to have that 1998, 2000, 2005 feel and vibe back to it.
At the same time, John, we're also bringing back a really new feel of things. I wish Brandon could speak on this, but Brandon Edwards and Hardison Moles will be combining and creating a new look on the stage. When you come to Exposure Youth Camp and you walk in, you'll see something you've never seen before on our stage. It's very innovative, very creative, and the look will be a little different. We want to thank a local vendor there in town that's allowing us to make this look good. And so, of course, John knows a lot more about that as well. And I want to thank Jackson Dean, of course, in helping with some of that as well. So a lot of neat new things to look forward to, and it's going to kind of blow your mind, to be honest. You're not going to recognize it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is going to be cool. And it's interesting. Oh, Hardison, yes, a 1998 film. I was so an infant here, yes. And Caitlin was 1 month old, so that's how we can always keep track of the dates of what's going on.
Whimsical, magical. Thank you,
Whimsical,
Brandon.
Magical. Yeah.
Whimsical, magical.
I did talk to Brandon. I did talk to Brandon last week, Paul, about it, and I said I gave him my Sleepy Hollow thing. He goes, okay. So yeah, we're excited about how it's going to look. Definitely appreciate Hardison and Brandon working on those graphics and getting that done, and Jackson getting on the AV stuff, and just we're excited and thrilled. I hope it doesn't feel like 98. It's not going to be, I don't know. It says Facebook user. I don't know who it is, but
I hope it doesn't either.
I hope it doesn't either. And all the, we've had some warm.
That was Travis Creasy.
Travis is saying that. We haven't had snow probably since the third year. It's at least the third year we had snow when we were at the Space and Rocket Center. Yeah, I don't think you were at that one.
Yeah.
Well, the Space and Rocket Center. And
we had snow the year after, but that's the last time I remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah,
the first year
since we had snow.
We were in the VBC completely. Was the last time I remember snow, which is
okay. So that would have been. Yeah, that would have been
on your Sleepy Hollow comment. I hope it's everything except for the Headless Horseman part. So everyone's keeping their heads. But,
Are they?
It's sort of a Narnia kind of thing.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, we're excited with that.
First time on stage though, John, we'll be bringing Drake Jenkins on.
Yeah. We need to get into who we're going to be talking. We are going to be having, get into our speakers that we're going to have. In case you haven't looked at it, we got our three main speakers, Paul, of Lonnie, Drake, and David.
That's right. David Shannon, Lonnie Jones, Drake Jenkins. Talking about Dreamer. Bigger, biggest, and big. No, that was a different year. Great, greater, and greatest. It's gonna be neat. The whole Dreamer thing. Here he is.
There's old Brandon. Look at him.
Hey, what's up, guys?
He said, "Oh, I didn't say old."
No, it's the C.S. Lewis look, man. He's got
Old Brandon.
Yeah.
I see how it is.
So, Brandon, why don't you tell us a little bit of some of your ideas and kind of how we're incorporating the whole Dreamer concept in exposure this year?
Sure. So my audio is lagging real quick, so I'm catching it out about 15 seconds after y'all right now. So that's always fun.
We have that in there so we can.
I'm very excited about the whole design, the whole concept, everything you guys are setting forth. Very C.S. Lewis, whimsical, magical. It's meant to be kind of experience, but at the same time, something that you can grow into and something that you can learn from and grow from there. And so I'm very excited about what it's going to look like and how it's going to feel and what people can walk away with from it.
I like how you said it's something about the experience, that it's not just is that where you were going, Paul?
Yeah, you go ahead.
About that it is more than just, hey, we're coming and sitting in there, getting a few lessons and leaving, but it's about encompassing, because people learn in different ways, from whether it's auditory, watching with your eyes, the ears, and that's all the senses you're trying to incorporate this. And so making this huge, giant learning process.
So, Brandon, last year we had Harris III to come in and do our entertainment. Other than the few hockey fans we have, I feel like I heard more positives and oh my goodnesses and oh I love that kind of thing than any other year we've ever had. Can you explain sort of the mindset of the creation of Harris III that kind of brings us to where we are this year creatively with our stage and things like that, and the work you've done with him?
Sure. So, I've worked with Harris for years, for almost 10 years plus now. And so the things that we were able to do from a creative process oftentimes just starts with the idea of thinking differently. What does it look like to try to create experientially and not just through one avenue of learning? And so people learn in different ways. They learn through people are more visual. I'm a very visual individual. And so teenagers and college students and the rest, they learn so often right now through visual aspects and wanting to experience something. So even children sometimes learn best by touch and by feel and by experiencing things differently than just auditory hearing. And so it's one of the things that I have kind of leaned into in my own professional life and even in ministry and the rest, and up here at Ohio State with the college students, is the visual aspects, the auditory aspects of hearing and being different in those things without changing who we are, without changing what we do as a church, what we do in our worship services and the rest, but the visual things that you can create, the little moments of magic where somebody walks in and all of a sudden they go, oh, wow, that's fantastic. Like, I never experienced that. And hey, there's my guy who's going to help make it all come alive.
I know everybody is like showing up here today. Hey, if you're in the Facebook world, just join us. We're all here.
It's a party.
Yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
Or Hardison.
Yeah.
Brandon's catching up, remember?
He's catching up.
Yeah. We have to
I'm here. I'm catching up.
This is the part where Hardison gets in and says something. His face is on the screen. Make it happen. Let's go.
What do you want me to say?
Well, Hardison, tell me about. Why don't you tell us about how you and Brandon and the things that y'all are doing, and y'all's concept when you and him have just kind of had the storyboard sessions and kind of throwing out ideas. Tell us a little bit about that and how you've come to what we're doing this year at Exposure.
Yeah. So last year we kind of saw a little bit of difference from what the normal look of the Exposure stage looked like. So this year we wanted to take that and elevate it and kind of take that up to the next level. So we worked through a bunch of different concepts and looked at some different ideas to really help amplify that dreamer feel, just with the visuals and the way that the room feels as you walk into it and sit and experience all of these wonderful lessons that we're going to have prepared. So as we kind of went through this process, we looked at some different options and have really nailed down the feel that we're looking for it. And you have seen that in some of the graphics for it, and we'll continue to be able to kind of push that narrative through our visuals. And like y'all mentioned earlier, we've been working with the incredible team down at the rental company in Huntsville. They've been doing an awesome job providing us with some stuff that will allow us to really make it cohesive and make it a great experience for everyone, even in a room where you've got 3,000 people, which is a challenge to try to make it where it's an immersive feel when you're that far away, when you've got 3,000 people in one room. So we've really been trying to nail that down. And I think what we've got is it's really going to be something special and something different that you haven't seen yet.
You know, I want to go off of something you just said there about when you got in a room with 3,000 people trying to make this immersive feel. Brandon, why is that important? You know, if somebody's watching this and they're like, well, what makes it a big deal? You know, as long as you got a person on stage, why is this important when we're talking about something like this?
So creative and immersive feels, when it comes down to it, is really about trying to help people connect with a moment, a memory. In fact, I often associate it with sound. There are songs that you then associate with moments in your life. And so in the same way, you want to have an experience when you walk in a room and all of a sudden you go, oh, this is some things here that I'm supposed to remember. And if you can tie that directly to the things that are, the Word of God, if you can tie that specifically to what it means to be a Christian and changing your life and what that ultimately must stand for, that it's something different. There's something beautiful. There's something wonderful about these types of situations. They're not just a one-off event, but they're meant to create little moments in time that you can look back on and go, that moment changed me, or that moment helped me see something differently, or that moment really inspired me. And so much of what we do, and Hardison and I get to work on this quite a bit, is learning to inspire people beyond just that one moment, that it can be a catalyst for where they go from there, that it becomes, EYC was that event that changed my life, that ultimately led me to a walk of faith. And if we can do that in even the smallest things, all things to all men, without changing what God desires or what God wants from us as people, but also to think about how people learn differently, how they experience differently. And if we can create that little moment, that's the magical part. That's the whimsically magical part that I like to utilize the terminology for, at least.
And I think people are going to ask, well, okay, well, why are we putting all this work into this? Hardison, when because you were part of it last year, specifically working with Harris that we had, one of the biggest things that we heard back from multiple people was, and especially with Harris's message as he was kind of weaving it out within his program, they remember that. And they're not saying that they don't remember any of our other speakers and things like that we've had, but they're remembering that of how it connected biblically with what we were talking about in there, and how that kind of propelled this idea of embracing this experience type of a mindset.
Yeah, for sure. I think that definitely provided an excellent catalyst to spur us forward into what we're wanting to do. And I know sometimes people look at doing this type of stuff and they're like, why in the world do we need to do this? Like, can't we get back to like the just the old way of doing it? And you're like, you don't need this. You don't need this to worship God. But when you really look at it, using the tools that we have available to help amplify a message has been something that has been used throughout the spread of the good news of Christ throughout. Even Jesus himself used that. When you look at the way that he spoke in certain areas, he spoke in the mountains so that more people could hear him. When he fed the 5,000, he wasn't just there. He took care of those needs and made sure that everything was available to those people so that the message could be easier to grasp, and that people could take that and move from it. Because it's one of those things, if the people were hungry and they're worried about, what am I going to do to eat? They're not paying attention to the message. If you're sitting in an environment and you're like, I can't see, I can't hear, you're not being able to fully grasp that message. So what we're doing is trying to take those things and not turn them into distractions, but turn them into something that allows people to better take this message. And like Brandon was saying earlier, to associate that with a memory that spurs them on to do something greater in the future.
Definitely in there. Paul, we got Paul back with us. I know you got some things you want to throw in here.
Very well said there. I appreciate the environmental look, the atmospheric look that we're going to see when we get in there. But I just want to jump off what Hardison just said, and John mentions too, is the experience part of it all. I know it's a word I love, but it kind of pulls everything together. Hardison says it's hard for you to imagine how awesome this will look within a room full of 3,000 people, but it actually puts us all on the same page. It puts us in that dreamer situation. It couldn't be more perfect with the theme, the people, and the people who want to be there, and they know what we're going to get out of it. When I spend time all year long talking to folks about Exposure Youth Camp and the amount of Bible study we have, the fellowship opportunities we have together, that it's different. It's different than any other event you've ever seen, been a part of. But this whole thing gives us sort of a space of creativity, but also Christianity, and what Jesus was trying to convey to people in taking advantage of the things that has been created for us to use and apply and have a chance to draw folks in. I think if there's anything you'll take away from this whole thing, is that it's going to be a very inviting atmosphere. And it's just something people, when they leave, they're like, oh, I can't wait to go back. Could this be any longer? Every year they say that. Exposure's too short. Can we make it longer? Can we make it longer? I'm like, oh, please no. But it is just one of those things I think we're going to see. And I learned this, and I don't like a secret about this. Brandon Edwards inviting me to come to Story Conference right before COVID, and meeting Hardison and meeting those guys and working with them. Sometimes it's grunt work, but the imagination that flew through the room, it was crazy.
That changed you.
Share that here, huh?
That changed you.
It did. It really did. It really did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think that helped out in the desire for wanting more, not just AV, but I don't know, connecting, not just with a PowerPoint presentation, but just with just the experience you gain from the whole thing, right. The whole picture. It's just really.
It's storytelling. It's storytelling. Ultimately, it's how do we tell a better story? I mean, we have the greatest story in the world to tell, and we get to tell it. And Jesus himself was not just the master storyteller himself, but he used analogy and he used story to create concept. That's why I was such a big fan of last year's theme. The storytelling, very nature of it was such a beautiful thing. And so then to go into Dreamer. That's where, and candidly, we kind of reached out to you, Paul, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to help take this to that next little level of things, because there's so much excitement that came about from that, and I'm grateful that for all those who've come and helped out at the Story Conference through the years, especially Hardison. That's where we've spent so much time together, and it's a moment where we learn to lean into the talents and abilities that God has given to us. The ability that he's given to us to inspire the next generation of people to tell the story of Jesus better, to tell it with more passion and excitement, and to dream beyond just these moments. That there's a movement within the church. It's the beautiful notion of the restoration movement, is that we are a movement of telling the story of Jesus and sharing that with everyone. And sometimes that comes in different formats. It's in daily life. It's in everyday conversations. Sometimes it's from a pulpit. Other times it can also be at a conference like this. And how can we inspire them to do just a little bit more when it comes to telling that story better? That's the fun part. That's the stuff that really gets me up in the morning.
And you said something, Brandon, and this needs to be a ministry topic that we do on this show, is about reaching people and how to reach people. And because people do get affected and they are taught in different ways. And Hardison, there was something you said a second ago that made me think back to your lesson that you did at the Creators Conference at the Ministry League experience, of how you were pointing out even Jesus used some of these things, even from when he was in the boat, and showing how that was kind of an amphitheater set up just because of how it was when he was speaking, so people could hear and do some things. And I don't want to take up, we got to get back to the rest of the show about and closing this thing down anyway about exposure, but that mindset of that's where this whole thing is coming from. And like I said, you even see it in scripture. And guys, we're just thrilled that y'all are here helping us and a part of us and a part of it to help tell the story.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to do this. I look at Paul and the way that he's kind of always talked about story and how that changed him and that's made him want to do so much more with Exposure. That is the same spirit that we want people to leave Exposure with this year. We want people to leave Exposure with the same mentality that Paul had leaving Story in 2019. We want them to say, how do I do better with telling the story of God and telling the amazing things that he's done in my life and share that with other people so that they can have that change in their life and keep growing the kingdom.
Dude, this is why I love Hardison so much. He's such a great guy. I like him a lot. He's just a good one. Brandon Edwards. Folks, if you don't know Brandon or Hardison, y'all got to figure it out. Y'all got to be around those guys because they'll challenge you and put you in a place you thought you'd never been before. So we're blessed. Thanks, guys, so much.
Well, Paul, I definitely want to have them to come back sometime when we have a talk, when we get past some of this Exposure stuff, and talk about how we can be creative in ministry and using some of these thoughts to be able to do so. I definitely want to get them back and let's have a big, giant discussion about it, because there are some things that are questions, and I'm sure people having going through their heads right now that we don't have time to answer today, but we definitely need to talk about.
But I do want to make, I guess, a nice little gift to our listeners and our watchers of our show right now, and give them something or make them aware of something that nobody else knows unless you're watching the show. And only Hardison really is the one that can make this happen for us right now. So, Hardison, are you willing to do this for me?
Let's see what you're needing.
Oh, I'm
Why
scared.
don't we go ahead and release the link on the website?
You want to cause so much problems, Paul.
It's not a problem.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Do it.
Really? You know how many messages I got last year that you released it early?
Who cares?
Well, they got to tune into the show.
He's like a kid with a candy shop.
That's exactly what I described it as last year. I said, Paul's excited about it. He wants to get it all out.
Christmas presents are open before Christmas. That's all I got to say.
You got to watch the show. That's why I tune in. I tune in specifically for the little nugget Easter eggs that Paul throws out.
You keep doing this, people are going to
gone.
start tuning in like February and going to be like, is he going to drop the link today? I want to register for Exposure.
Let's do it.
It's giving me a headache.
Oh,
I need some more of my pumpkin
okay.
spice latte here to keep me going.
Let's do it. Can we do it?
Yeah, give me a few minutes. We'll get it up.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having us on, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, guys. Thank y'all so much. We'll talk soon.
Oh, Paul. What am I gonna do?
Okay, I got to call the board. Let them know what's going on.
I know. Now we're going to start getting those emails in today. I got to do some church work before I get going on the rest of this. Oh, but man, yeah, we're excited. We are thrilled. And
well, the reason why they want to watch college football tomorrow, they don't have to deal with this.
I mean, is there really a football game going on?
Not one I want to probably see, but we'll see.
I mean, Paul, come on. You know you're going to be watching at 3:30 tomorrow.
I will.
Come on, have faith in your Bama people.
It just depends on who the quarterback is. That's all it comes down to.
Oh, we got the battle of the new coaches, Louisiana coaches in Gainesville tomorrow night, so I'm excited about that one.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. I'll be back in the hotel watching that one, I think. By then.
Good luck to you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, Siri's talking to me.
If you are in the North Georgia, Central Georgia area, please get. Oh, I wish you'd scream some more. Please. Oh, he broke the fan. That's awesome. Please go to the Oak Hill Church of Christ in Covington, starting Saturday afternoon about 2:30. They have a very, very good speaker that'll be speaking at their youth rally there. His name is John Podein, and so support that if you can in the Atlanta area.
They want to
do a shout out for that real quick before I get out of here.
Yeah, we'll be in Covington tomorrow. So yeah,
well done.
Come on over. Well, you know what that means, folks. The show is over with Paul using the high pitched voice. Oh, we let Paul go back. Him and Tyler have some fun here today.
Oh yeah, fun.
Well, For Paul Spurlin, I am John Podein. We hope to see you at Exposure. If you got any questions, please contact us. We will help you out. For Caleb Sampson, I get to close this out today. For Caleb Sampson behind the glass over there in Florence, Alabama, we hope you have a great day. We will see you next week right here on the John and Paul Show.